these pillows. Look at us.
Look at us. David Santiago.
Hey, darling.
I am so glad that you were willing to come here and sit down with me and invite me into the American Brass and Crystal showroom.
Absolutely. How could I not?
I'm so
You're
excited.
a beacon of light in our industry.
You're a beacon of light, and I just want to tell you how truly amazing you are, and you're always just in such a positive mood, personality plus, and I love being in your presence. So I want to know more about you.
Okay.
Maybe you can enlighten me and tell me a little bit more how you got involved in interior design, lighting design, and working with American Brass and Crystal.
Sure. I'm going to give you the short story.
Okay.
I was working one summer with a contractor friend of mine, and while we're painting a room, this is many, many moons ago, a gentleman walks in with a window treatment. And I'm like, what's that? He's like, it's a tailored balloon shade. And I just bought a showroom to the trade. And we fabricate here in Hackensack, New Jersey, where I'm based in the New Jersey, New York metro area. And fast forward, he invited me to the shop, and he's very proud, new owner, talking about custom window treatments. So at the end of the meeting or encounter, he says to me, are you interested in this industry? And I said, I could be. He goes, I know someone looking for someone like yourself. I said, like me? And he goes, yeah, you would be probably entry level, but why not? He picked up the phone, called Lewis Nassau and Nassau's Window Shades. I got dressed up, had an interview, and I got hired. Entry level, window treatment consultant in training, trained by the silver-haired lady I call my designing women, and my golden girls, and my mentors of this journey that I've been on for over 20 plus years later. And here I am on a couch talking to you.
Over 20 plus years?
Over 20 plus years. I've been in this industry a long time. Actually,
awesome.
If you really want to know, 30 years.
Does it just pull you in and then you're like, I never want to leave? I mean...
It became, it was first a labor of love, and it continues to be a labor of love, but it was my trade, it was my job. So while I decided to study theater and beyond, I always had a work ethic mentality and lifestyle. So while I went to school and everything, I always worked. So I started at Nassau's Windows. I quickly moved on to Calico Corners. Calico Corners led me to becoming a window treatment specialist at a design firm on Madison Avenue. The same guy that got me the job for the first time around got me on Madison Avenue because we were utilizing his workroom. And that's really been the story of my life and my success. I've always walked into an opportunity that presented itself on this journey that I've been on. And
just allowing it and being open to it has lended itself to the fluidity of the next stage.
It really
the next
has.
stepping stone.
And I'm like a sponge, and I have an appetite. Not that I would get bored, but I was always thinking forward, as I like to say now, designing it forward. I always left that door open for opportunity. So I really never worked for anyone for more than 2 years or so because I just evolved. And I evolved through design. I evolved, obviously, as a human being, as a young man to the man I am today. And now I have this insatiable appetite for this industry, as you do yourself, for various reasons. It's a great industry.
And I feel like so many people find it interesting when people want to kind of like continue after about every 2 years. But I do think there's a particular type of person who needs to do that, and then there need to also be there's a certain personality that needs to stay with a company and be loyal to one company, while there's these other chameleons, is what I like to call them, who are the ones who are almost like a muse to that company and inspire them and encourage them and reinvigorate them, and then they're like, okay, now I'm on to the next.
Right.
And I guess I would apply that to what you're speaking about.
And kudos, because it's exactly that. They're the personalities like myself, and then the ones that grow with a company and become, you know, almost like an ambassador of the companies they're working for. Mm-hmm. And I believe in that. I mentor that way also. I really encourage young designers to learn, sweat equity, pay your dues, and really, before you go on to the next phase, as enticing as it may be, make sure it's an opportunity that's going to elevate you and give you more, and not necessarily money wise. I mean, at the end of the day, it is about money, but
growing yourself organically.
Exactly.
Is where you're truly building a foundation.
Correct.
It's like people on Instagram who think if they're going to get a bot, then they'll get all the followers, and you can't put the carriage before the horse.
Absolutely
you need to grow
not.
organically, and
Well
it's the same
said.
with relationships.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well said. And relationships have led me to here, American Brass and Crystal. Great segue there. You know, I started my own business 15 years ago, and I stumbled onto the world of American Brass and Crystal through Capital Lighting, which is a retail organization establishment, brick and mortar in Paramus, New Jersey, and also showroom to the trade designers resource in Lodi, New Jersey. And I immediately gravitated to the quality and the product, and most importantly, the opportunities that they offer to the design industry, and like myself, and the customization. I don't want to say have it your way, because I don't necessarily like that phrase,
yeah.
But truly that is. And you know, the American Brass team across the board are to the trade friendly. They want to grow with the industry. They also respect the establishment of the brick and mortar, the ones that have been there for a long time. So it's a fine line to navigate, because you want to survive in both worlds and you want both as your clients. And I understand that from a business point of view. But most importantly, I see the perceived value in their product. And with the quality of their product, you know that their legacy customers are going to be loyal. So they don't really have to play too far into any type of e-commerce, because they're really going to, their customer base is just different. Absolutely. And you know, when I say perceived value, I think it's in a certain bracket from a fiscal point of view, but I think it's even more. I think truly you're getting an extraordinary product for the buck. From a family-owned business. Yeah. And I love that. And to the trade friendly, which I really appreciate. And through my relationship with them, knowing who they were, understanding me as a designer, who I was, you know, a serendipitous moment happened when they were working on a light fixture, and they approached me and said, "David, what would you do?" I said, "What are you doing?" Literally, it's like, "What are you doing?" "Well, we're thinking about, you know, expanding or potentially competing with a demographic that is not necessarily our base." I'm like, "Well, I wouldn't buy that from you. I wouldn't go for you for that. I come to American Brass for a reason. I don't want that from you." And they were like, Ross was like, "Okay," and Martin, "Okay." The honesty. They were on, and it's like, "Well, what would you do?" And I said, "Have you ever thought about color?" They're like, "Color? We don't really do color." I said, "Well, I do." And that's how this happened. So we suddenly just had a very informal conversation about, well, why don't we do something together? I said, "Okay." And I think when I met you was actually the first debut of... Yeah, about 3 years ago. Of the Colorful Designs. 3 years ago. It was. 2019. I started attending Dallas Market because of these guys. And we brought some color to Dallas Market and to American Brass and Crystal. And the relationship has evolved also. From color to redesigning and restylizing existing fixtures in the collection, to ultimately designing original fixtures with them. And that's what I love about working with them. The team is extraordinary, but Ross is a great mastermind, Martin is a great sales strategist and knows the industry and the demographics. And I respect all of their points of view, and I never get designer headstrong, heavy go, it has to be this way. So, it's a give and take relationship, and I really appreciate that as a designer and a brand that welcomes someone into their home. They really admire your opinions, your ideas, your designs. Yeah. And now you've got to you've been able to create something with a company that's been around for so long. Absolutely. And of all companies, one that cares so strongly about quality. Yeah, and we create a little magic, and you know, it's also, for me, I'm a very lucky guy because I happen to be 40 minutes from American Brass and Crystal in Union, New Jersey. Oh, wow. So I literally get on the phone, I'll sketch something up, I literally will send it via text, "Hey, we need to do this," or "I've got this project coming up," which actually during COVID, a wonderful project turned up for a studio out in Plainview, Long Island called Titan Studios, Titan Media, which Titan Studios, Titan Media now, because they've grown since we got involved together. And it was my first television studio that I got to design with a green room. And
what?
Yeah.
That sounds really wild.
And I said, what do you, I started talking about different concepts. They're like, well, what would you do for the green room? What would you do, David? What would you design for us? I said, honestly, I'd love to bring in my brands, my Strictly Santi trademark, and signature light fixtures and wall covering and furniture, and create a whole concept and space for you to complement the studio.
Absolutely.
And voila, American Brass got on board. We had wonderful sponsors like Tebow Wall Covering, Splashworks in High Point, New York with acoustical art. And
I love how you're a visionary. You see it,
yeah.
and you know how to execute it. It's exactly what you were thinking in your head.
It was. And from that wonderful moment during COVID, we were very lucky that we actually got to work in New York, which I acquired that introduction through Drake Media, Donna Drake on CBS New York WLIW, which I happened to be a design and lifestyle correspondent for the show, which is how I met Titan Studios. And it's just, for this to happen during COVID, and now, 2 to 3 years later, that studio is evolving and growing and thinking outside the box, thinking television, entertainment, real estate, podcast, recording studios, and they're expanding on Long Island into New York, and now I get to design even more and work with brands like American Brass and Crystal for Titan Media Studios.
So you said that you had color ideas too,
Yes.
and I just want to know a little bit more about the finishes of those.
Sure.
What colors did you have in mind? Because you told them I work with color.
Yeah, I work color. So when I first started thinking about color, I went to obviously the strong colors like the reds and the greens and the yellows. Primary colors.
Yeah.
And I really went to some of the colors that I gravitate towards that would be impactful. You walking by a showroom, you walking into the showroom, that would draw you in. And then some more subdued, like the forest greens and brown. I love chocolate brown, Godiva chocolate. Imagine that on a light fixture. And and I sell them to my clients, and they go on the journey. You have a traditional or classic fixture that's just elevated with a splash of color. And
I feel like your pieces would be in Paris Hilton's house.
they could be in Paris Hilton's house, they could be at the White House. I see them not in the literal sense of where you would put a colored chandelier, but I would put it in entryway. I've done navy blue chandeliers in entryways.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
yes.
and the themes, the color concept of that are grays, blacks, warm and cool whites, and that kind of color story is wonderful and easy, and it translates. So yeah, not everyone wants a colorful chandelier in their entryway, but there are.
I don't know. I feel like a lot more people, more and more, will want that and do want that.
Thank you for that, because that's something that I'm seeing more now.
I feel like they brought you in exactly at the right time.
I agree with you. And I mean that sincerely, because I see more color now on light fixtures than I've ever seen in the lighting industry. Not
Well,
that
I see people
that
even wanting to renovate,
Yeah.
or refurbish, I should say. Like if they find an older fixture that they really love, because there's not a lot of companies that will sell the designs that you have, but now you're bringing that to the market through American Brass and Crystal, and I think that that's really something, because people will go to the to the extreme of like painting it themselves if they have to, but now they can actually have quality.
And that's one of the things that I was sure and strong
Contemporary
about.
quality design.
I said I do not want to compromise the integrity of American brass. Brass is the metal, it's the element. So let's start with the raw brass. We powder coat it, we prep it, and we build the fixtures from there. I didn't want to go into aluminum or different metals for the cost factor. I said I don't want to change the brand. American Brass and Crystal is what brings me to you.
Well, and aluminum, while it is lighter,
Yes.
metal, it's more tricky to work with than
Correct.
brass.
And this is easy. Raw brass is easy, and we do in-house painting and powder coating and all of that. and introduce.
Which means it's going to stay for a very long time.
I think so.
Great quality.
I think so.
Yes.
And we've also introduced some cooler and matte finishes, like the matte black is really popular here. We're doing a matte white. You know, I also went into...
Oh, the matte white is going to be
And
huge.
I being a color consultant for with Benjamin Moore, color is
Wait,
very...
what do you not do? You're amazing. Like, I am so inspired and in awe of you.
Thank you. I know color. I know color from the literal sense and the palette, from the Pantones to the Benjamin Moores to Sherwin-Williams. And to, I can go on about that, but navigating that color story or design concept is something that I find very easy and translatable with my clients and my projects. They're working with me for that. They don't need me for beige, they need me for champagne. They don't need me for white, they need me for pearlescent white. And that's what I do, and that's the core of what I bring to anything I work on, and especially to American Brass and Crystal.
That's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Can you maybe tell us just a little bit more about another fun project that you have
will.
worked on or is coming up or something?
I will. I'll share a great project.
Okay.
I happen to be one of the BIPOC designers for the Kaleidoscope project that was founded last year, and I was fortunate enough to design a common space, which was a bar. And I brought the Metropolitan Opera aesthetic and flavor to that concept. And let me rewind a little bit. The project was implemented to give opportunities in the industry from all levels, entry, middle journey, veterans of the industry. More importantly, highlight the lack thereof presence of Black, Indigenous people of color in our industry. And I was one of the 4 Latin designers that...
Is that why it's called the Kaleidoscope Project?
Yes.
Because it's very inclusive of all?
That's a great way of saying it, absolutely. And that's the mission, is also to educate young and upcoming designers with scholarships and grants.
Love
and
that.
It's morphed into another project now, the Firehouse project, that's converting to 4 apartments, and we have 4 different design groups, and it's being also filmed and potentially picked up and formatted into a TV show where I would be the host.
And where is that going to take? Where is the
So the first
place?
one was in Lenox, Massachusetts, at the Cornell Inn, and I did the bar there, the Acento bar.
Yes, I saw pictures. It was amazing. You did a
So,
completely stellar job.
I'll tell you a great fun little fact about me as well. It was the first opportunity where I got to do a project and do it my way, and also implement my passion and my education of music. I happen to be an opera singer, and to be able to bring that element into a design project that was mine, and I didn't have to answer to anyone. It was a win-win across the board. We even got Scala Mandre to be a sponsor that actually provided the fabric for the Metropolitan Opera. I mean, that's not serendipitous. I don't know what is. So yeah, that's one of my favorite projects that I've done, and I evolved with, and now on the board of the Kaleidoscope project as well.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then another fun aspect of what I do is it brought me to television. I'm a recurring designer on the George to the Rescue Emmy Award-winning show on NBC, and I get to give back through design. And we recently did a family with an autistic son in West Hempstead, Long Island, and I got to utilize my fabrics, my upholstery, my wall covering, and again, American Brass and Crystal. They always show up for me and show up for the industry.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It sounds like an amazing partnership that was always meant to be.
Yeah, I agree, and I would second that, and I would encourage any designer, any listeners, of this wonderful moment we're having, sharing and celebrating our love for design and lighting, that they are the kind of brands that you want to work with and grow with.
Where do you see yourself with everything that you are so involved with? Do you have any long-term vision? Because you are quite the visionary, I can tell.
I do. I will say this much. What I'm looking at in the mirror, when I think about where I am and where I'm going, I am definitely reimagining my business as an interior designer, doing more commercial hospitality, really being selective of the jobs that I do, and more importantly, I want more joy in my life.
Well, I feel like being so involved in opera and having that creative aspect from a musical side, I feel like, I imagine you, especially if you're interested in hospitality and like going towards that, doing a whole entire hotel based around just like opera music and what kind of like that, the feel that you get when you're in the theater. And it's so, I don't know, it's emotional, it's beautiful, and people who design based off of music and inspired by music, I love that, because I'm a huge music fan.
Well, music heals the soul. I truly believe that.
And it unites people.
It really does. It does. And I love for me, music is an escape and a journey into somewhere in time. I love listening to the composer and listening to hearing the librettist, the libretto of the story of opera, and that takes me on a journey. I think what may be in store from that perspective is definitely more singing on stage, but I think I'll probably go into set design and production, and how could I not, having the design background I have and the musical background, I just fuse those two together, and definitely more charity work in my life. I definitely like giving back.
To the philanthropy side of your business.
Yeah. I'm an artistic director of events for an organization called My Face. That's facial cranial reconstruction and fundraising. For that, and I'm on a board trustee. Yeah, it's.
That's amazing, because I was going to ask you, like, if you had to choose philanthropy-wise, what it would be, and I wasn't expecting that. I thought, again, it would have been something either musical or design therapy.
Well, one of the music brought me to that event. I was working with a client of mine who happens to be part of the organization, and he said, "David, we're doing a talent show. We did a talent show last year. Check this out. I think you would be wonderful at this. My kids love you. You love kids. You love music. You're a personality. Think about it." And I said, "Well, what would you want me to do?" He's like, "I don't know." And I ended up falling in love with all of the kids, even the instrumentalists and the singers, to end up being a mentor. And the mentorship is what ultimately led me to want to participate and be part of the organization and grow with it. And now I have an insatiable appetite mentoring these kids, and I can't get enough, and I want to mentor all of them, and I want to implement a full-time mentorship program for all of these kids to have resources to be able to utilize to grow.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So, yeah.
We need more people like you.
Thank you, dear. I mean, I wear many hats, no pun intended, like my Strictly Santi signature. But I'm a lucky guy. I do work that I love, and I get to do it with people like yourself and in our industry. I'm a very lucky guy. I'm blessed. And I necessarily may not be a rich man, but I have a rich life. And I definitely seek and yearn for more joy.
Well, I feel honored that you would sit down and chat with me today, and I hope this is not the last time that we get to talk.
You and I.
You'll have plenty more to tell me,
but even
tomorrow.
You and I are going to end up doing a lot together. I know
hope
it.
so.
It feels really good. I think you're wonderful. I think you're special, and you're a standout in the crowd, my dear.
Thank you.
Mwah.
Mwah. Yay.
Good.
That was good.
That was good.